Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing good tonight. Ugh, I just spilled my paints. So I got them next to us. I'm going to finish this from last week. And I don't like the way the roads are right here, but there's not much I can do to change it now because they're so dark. So I'm going to have to just deal with it. And I guess that's just the way it is anyway. So I don't have a paper towel, do I? Let me grab one. To grab one. So, how was your guys' weekend? We had my granddaughter the whole weekend. So, we had some fun. We went to the county fair, which was fun. And I rode a couple rides with her, and she rode some rides by herself. We did, I'm just adding some different green in here just to give it some depth. We did a mechanical bull. So that was fun. My neck hurt the next day. It still kind of hurts today. I've got a headache from it, but that's okay. It was fun. I'd always wanted to ride one of them. And I did. I made it past the 8 seconds. So that was cool. Oh, that one looks good in there. I might hit some water over here. Oh, yeah. I like that much better. That yellow green, oops, wrong one. Yellow green I added in is okay because it just gives it some light behind it, which with the moon behind them, there would be that anyway. So I'll probably only stay on an hour tonight. I have, like I said, I hurt my neck riding the bull, but I just strained it or whatever. It just is. It felt pretty good today, but the later it gets, the longer I've held my head up for the day, the more it hurts. So I will probably only do an hour today, which might get this done. It might not. Oops, I dropped some water on there. That's all right. I don't know how I dropped that water on there though. So let's see what else. Not much else we did. Oh, we did school supply shopping, and I just let her pick out. She's going into middle school, so she only has the basics right now on list, and that was, we went to Walmart and I just let her pick out what she wanted, and it was $50, which I don't know how you guys do it if you have more than one kid anymore, because I'm sure when she starts school the 21st, and so I'm sure each teacher will have, their own list of what actually need to bring. So she'll need more, but her mom can get that. There were a couple things on there we couldn't find, and some things her mom had already gotten her. So, but she had fun picking them out. She got to pick out what she wanted, which, that's always fun. So let's see, for the roof, I think I'm going to do little, like it's a tile. So when you do that, there are many ways to do that. Yeah, after I'm done tonight, I will finish packing up stuff from my auction. Oh, I'm going to get a drink too. My drink is over there. I left it. Let me grab that because I'm getting thirsty talking to y'all. Oh, I got all my hair cut. I got my hair cut on Saturday. So, excuse me. So that was an adventure. Some places she cut 8 inches off. And then others she just did, I think the shortest amount she cut off was 2 inches. And it's still pretty long. So we know my roof is going to be gray or, well, I don't have black, so it'll be gray. So I wet it down so the surface is wet. And I was looking for a paintbrush that has a tip on it. So I can't find one. I don't think I have a credit card thing in here. I was going to scratch the surface and show you. It's just another technique. Oh, here, I can do it with this. This is a glass dip pen. So you dip it in the ink and it holds it in these ridges, and then you can write for a little bit with it. So what I'm going to use is it has a very stiff point, you can see. And I'm going to make little scallops in here. And you can't see them yet, but in a second you'll be able to see them, and I'll be able to see how good I did on them because I don't know. So I'll put my paint on and it will fall into the lines where I scored the paper. I think there was something there and maybe something there. So let's give that a shot. I wet my brush and I'm going to pick up a brown, or no, I'm going to pick up a Payne's Gray. Which one's Payne's Gray? That one. So Payne's Gray is a blue-black. And I'm going to, I got a little too much on there, I'm afraid. And I'm going to go over it. Oh, see the magic? You can see where it's coming alive. See, it's settling, the pigment's settling into those, where I made those marks. Isn't that cool how it does that? You could do that with ink also. But it doesn't work with like acrylics or stuff like that. So isn't that cool? You can see where I dropped in all those. Okay, that's not what I wanted. There, focus. Okay, see how you could see where I made those dents in the paper? Now I can't ever go back. That paper has now been abused. So it will, those are in there forever. So I can't take them out. But I just wanted to do that for my detail instead of adding ink, afterwards. Look at that. I love it. It's always magical to me. It's just another type of way to add texture or details to your piece. And they'll fill up with the ink or water color you put down. So I'm trying to put down pigment without too much so that it'll go into those lines, but not change the roof color, because then it'll get too dark. There, it looks pretty good. That's pretty exciting. So for this, let's add, I don't remember which brown I used. Was it that one? No, not that one. That's not one I like. I think I might like this one. Yeah, we'll do this one. And my windows weren't exactly the same height, so I'm going to go in here and make them the same height. Not that they need to be. It's a folk art. So it's okay for them not to be exact. I can clean it up a little, though, and make it exact. I don't have a lot of water on my paint, or a lot of water on my brush. So I have more control over where the paint spreads, because the watercolor paper is dry, because I haven't worked on it since last week. Last week just went really fast. I had so many things I had to do, and it seemed to fly by. I didn't ever get this worked on. And let's see, the bottoms of the windows are pretty good. And this one's just a tad bigger, so we'll add that. I can't believe that we're almost, well, tomorrow will be 8 days into August already even. It has gone by fast. I may add brick. Well, this isn't brick color, so I may add like wood, like siding planks to it, depending on what I do to the other rows of landscape. So I'll either do it that way I did up there, or I will do something different. Maybe do it with pen and ink or something. So I want my door to be a little brighter red. So let me pull you guys back out a little bit. That way you can see when I'm grabbing my paints. I think I may have actually got it set up this time. I really need a new chair in here. So I used to do my filming. Ooh, that's growing. Oops. I thought okay, there. I thought I had kept my brown away from it, but I hadn't. So I'm going to wait a minute on that. But I do like that the door's brighter now. So let's see got to get that off. This I was going to do as flowers. So, I don't know. Let me think. I have my birds up there. So I can do these. There's a bird. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Superman. There. And I'm just covering, I had penciled those in. You can see the pencil mark there very faintly. So I have that going. And I'm just adding to it. Don't know how dark I want to make them yet. So it's always best to start lighter, because in watercolor you can always add color. You cannot, it's harder to take it away. And that bird looks funky, but that's okay. He may be closer to us than these other ones. And my hand's shaky, that medicine must have. Okay, so we have down here, let me move so we can bring this up here. Here I have the row of fence posts that I put in. So I'm going to, let's see, the house was that brown. Is this brown or purple? That's brown. So we're going to use a different brown than I used over here. And we're going to put in the fence posts. And since obviously there's a distance, they're not going to be exact. And I'm making them a little craggy because I don't know if you've ever, at least in Kansas, if you've been on a farm, or here in Colorado too, you can see that the fence posts were made from actual wood that was gathered on the farm. And some of them were straight. Some of them had, like this one has a little piece I have going off. And so they were all a little bit different. And that's one of the joys of the old time fence posts. And I'm going to put one right there. Maybe one right here. There. Since I'm going that far down, I'm going to make these a little bit bigger. Give them some girth because they're not skinny, straight poles like that. So there we go. I don't know if I'll put my 3 rows of, I may only do 2 of barbed wire or whatever. I don't know yet. And I did that because I didn't know what color flowers I wanted yet. I think that I will do, since I have a red door, I think I'll do some red flowers down here. And to start with, so I got, my brush is very, very wet. And that's the color I used on the door. So I want it to be a little more red than that. And I do want a little of that red in there. So I mixed both on them. I'm putting them both in here, back in here. And let's see. Oops, I don't want it up there. I should have covered that up. There. Oh, Kristen. Stop doing that. Okay. So I would like some more red flowers in here, but I don't want it all over. Do I have another paper towel I can use here? There. I thought that I had it dry enough that it wouldn't splatter everywhere. I am a terrible splatterer. I don't. Ooh, well, now I have a piece of the paintbrush there. There. Oops, that one. So some of them, oh, you may not be able to see. I'm sorry. Some of them have funny shapes. That's okay, because remember, this is a flower. These are going to be flowers. And I'm going to rub out these colors in here. Now I have to fix the top part here. There's a little bit of red in there. We'll get that cleaned up. We'll get those picked out. Okay. For the most part, it'll be okay. It wasn't total badness. Okay, so these are rows of something. So I need to go back in and wonder which green that was. Let's try. Is this green? So I don't have a piece of paper next to me, so I just tested it on here. That is not a green I like. What is this green? That's a brighter green, more like up there. I may have to mix. Those are yellows. What color is this one? That's more like what I want on it. So we're going to go back in, and you can see the rows like the crops are in there. And I'm just going to dabble in each row like this. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing, so I just want it to make it look like there's something in here. We have, when we drive, on the back way to get to some of our stores, there's a field and they rotate through. They do the crop rotation in them. And right now they have purple lettuce or cabbage or whatever growing in it. It looks kind of cool. I think last year in that field they did corn. And this is just coming out of my head. I don't have a reference paper. Hi, Edna. You have a good night too. Yeah, I know. This summer's been just crazy, hasn't it? Crazy. I know you guys were on the other day, but I was out and about, so I couldn't even really watch you. The joys of living in rural areas. We're part of the city, but we're more rural than like in the city. We're right on the edge of it. So I usually go back. Edna makes jewelry, fabulous jewelry, especially earrings, but she makes sets and everything. So I'll go back and watch her and her sister Gianna. And Gianna beads with little tiny seed beads, Native American style. And then if you want to see a different style of bead weaving, you can watch Lydia Arturo. She does more of like Mexican or South American type. My rose got all messed up. Oh, what? Oh, sorry. I did a swap with Mixed Media Art and Artists, PM Artist Studios. And I mailed out my thing. Granted, Edie lives maybe 2 hours from me. It took 9 days to get it. And she just opened it. So she was telling me she was liking it. So last month we did postcards. in the group. This month we're doing jelly prints. So I'm getting out my jelly prints and I'll be doing that. It'll be the first time I've used my jelly plates and stuff. So that's started. Not too bad. I mean, it doesn't look great, but it's better than I thought it would. Let's put it that way. Now, the rows on this one I have going up and down. I just wanted different patterns since obviously there's quite a play on here, and I wanted them to show up different. So I think, is that what I want to do here? I'll make it look like that. That will make it look like cabbage heads in there. I don't know. We had so much fun. We got to, I made my husband and granddaughter, I'm like, oh, they have a petting zoo, so they had 2 alpacas, and they're so used to getting fed. We didn't take in food. They wanted $4 for a little Dixie cup of food, or you could just go in and pet things. And so I was happy just to go in and pet. And so was Harley, actually. And so the alpaca was like chomping on my shoulder on my t-shirt. I'm like, get off my shirt, you silly little thing. And so, and alpacas bite. That's something they do. But they had sheep that had just been sheared. So they were hard to tell the sheep from the goats. It was hysterical. And then, and they had billy goats with horns, and they had nursing goats and babies in there. So I had blast. I used to, when I was a kid, we'd milk goats, and that's what we'd have for our milk and cheese. We made cheese too. So oh, sorry, Cindy. Someday I might be able to figure out. I don't know what's going on. Cindy's birthday is Wednesday. So she's celebrating it. Well, she celebrated on her sale tonight, and then the last sale of the month. And I think the last sale of the month is usually her craft and kind of not jewelry, but other things, And I just got my package and I opened it last night. And she's done a couple of these pictures. You'll have to look back. Don't compare. Hers are much better. But so I hope you have a good birthday, Cindy. I know she's working. Her church meets on Wednesdays, and so since her birthday's on a Wednesday, she'll be at church, and they're having a pizza night. So that'll be fun. Everyone will be there to celebrate it with her. But yeah, if you like paper and ephemera, and she usually has, if she's in the mood to sell stamps, she'll sell stamps, because people who buy stamps are in 2 camps. The people that just buy them like I do, and I'll get rid of them after a while because I don't use them anymore. Or they're like Cindy, and they hoard their stamps because they love them. There's a couple I've given away over the years, or sold, or whatever. I think most of mine I've given away. And I'm kind of sad I did that, but yeah, my pack was awesome. If you have another one left, I'll add that onto my thing for tonight if you have one left. Because she does ephemera packets, and it was fabulous. I was going to bring it in and do a show and tell. Actually, my granddaughter and I opened it last night, so we were going to record it, but we forgot. We got excited. So I was very happy with it. I will use it. I've used part of it. If you go to Beth Schuler's group, she does a swap every month too, and she's doing paper dolls this month. So I made my first paper doll. The funny thing is, I think everything on that paper doll is from Cindy. The doll skirt is out of a jelly print that she pulled. The doll is actually one of her, she calls them her ugly people, I think is what she calls them. And they're really old photos from an old book. You know, those when they don't smile, they didn't smile because they had to stand there for so long and you couldn't move. So yeah, I made my first doll. You made yours. How many do we have to make? I can't remember. Oh, good. You have one left. I will take that. Definitely. She had a wallpaper, and I know they have a special name for it, but it's the kind that is textured. And sometimes you can get it and where you can add the color to it. She had a wonderful set of wallpaper, so I got a couple of those. I love that. I would love to have that to put on my ceiling. And my entryway, it's not really an entryway. You walk in, you either go to the office or you go upstairs, but there's a little cove in the ceiling. And I would like to tile just that little part. And that's the perfect kind of look I wanted. I'm like, I like that. So these rows look pretty good. They're not as straight as what a farmer would do. My uncle Bob and Aunt Margie were farmers, and their rows, I always would be amazed at how they can get their rows straight, because back then they didn't have GPS. A lot of farmers plant with GPS now. Okay. So that's dry. Is this dry? The flowers down here are dry. They're not bright red yet. So this time I will mix my two colors, that one and this one. They're mixing. And I'm going to go back in where some of these are and just add the color again to it. So it's totally random because you guys saw me, and our mind doesn't do random well. It naturally looks for patterns and stuff. So that's why it's hard. Even when you do random, it's not really random. It's very hard to make it truly random. So that's how I do my flowers and fields sometimes, is I start them this way. And especially with watercolor, the paper soaks in the water and the pigment. So you don't always see it as well. And I like bright colors, although this is fairly muted. Oh, you only sent one. Okay. Well, then I just have to do the one. I'm going to make another one, though. I had fun doing it. I have a couple other ideas. Maybe I'll send her to you then. Although I don't know what you do with the doll. What do we do with the dolls after we get them? I think I'll put mine on a journal topper or something. I don't know. I've always loved paper dolls. When I was little, we'd go to my grandpa's and my aunt and uncle's. They lived in the same town. And my aunt and uncle, Aunt Dorothy, would keep she would keep paper dolls for me to play with. I didn't really play with them. I like to dress them up. Mostly. We were talking about that yesterday, my daughter and I and my granddaughter, because we haven't seen the Barbie movie. I actually don't really go to movies anymore. And I'm going to add a few more dots here and there that are bigger to kind of make those so it doesn't stand out so much. And I had Barbies, and I had lots of Barbies, but all I did was dress them and style their hair and, make sure they were. I had like a Barbie airplane. My sister had the Barbie tower. And so, yeah, I would dress them and make situations for them. And I had the Barbie, you did her makeup and stuff. That was my favorite one. Because I did her hair, and I had dolls that, you could pull their hair long and then it would go back in short. I did all their hair and stuff. I always liked doing hair. So, hi, Deborah. How are you? Oh, and when to my swap person? I don't know who my swap person is yet. I'll have to ask Beth. Maybe she hasn't doled them out yet. So I have to make 2 dolls anyway. Okay, I can do that. I think I'm going to put purple in with the red. And I have 2 purples that are already mixed. So that's like I call it K-State purple. It's just a bright, dark purple. And that one's harder to see. That's more of a grape jelly purple. So they're both fairly similar. So I'm going to get my thing wet and I'll just put some of this on. Oh, yes. And we will cover this up. This time I'm smarter. Oh, thanks, Deborah. Yeah, I do this on Monday nights. I have been, I don't know, for maybe since April or May. I think I've been doing it quite a while now, actually. Okay, there. I'm getting a little bit more. I'm kind of tentative over there, so it's getting kind of dark. I may use some ink and add it. I'm not sure. Ink will hold the color more. Ooh, we got some purple in the sky. That's all right. I'll make it into something. I don't have clean water in here. See, that's not going to look good. That's why you use clean water. I made both. I have 2 cups. One's supposed to be clean and one's supposed to be dirty, but mine really ended up as more of one. Both were dirty, and yeah, I'll add some blue to the sky. I think this was the blue maybe I used. Yep. It's more of a kind of turquoisey shade. So I got my brush pretty wet, and I got this, and I'll start up here just to see what we got going on here. Okay, yeah. And I'm not going to do it all because you know how the sky's different colors in different places and stuff. Although some days it's beautiful. It's all that one color. That purple. Oh! So normally you should have your watercolors and your water that you're dipping in on the same side and not dragging it across your painting. But because of where I'm painting, that's just not really an option. I don't know what color blue this is. Oh, okay. I think that'll be okay. So that's not really an option in this. Ooh, that's not really what I wanted in this setup, so that you guys could see, because I know when I watch people paint, I like to see their paints that they're dipping into. So that blue was not the blue I wanted. Pooh. Let's go up here. Oh, that's definitely not. My husband always makes fun of me because, I got green in there somehow. He makes fun of me because I always make stormy skies. It's like, you always make stormy skies. So I try hard not to make stormy skies anymore. That might be okay after a while. Do I have another thing of water in here? No. Darn it. It's okay. We're going to go down here and work on the hay bales. This was the color I did. Yep. It was either that one or this one. Now I have my drink in front of the screen. I can't see. 9, Deborah's in California then, or on the west coast. We are, I'm sorry. That is like so annoying. My jewelry is hitting that. It's what, 10 here. I'm in Denver, Mountain Time. Oh, Cindy, you were talking about the lady that stole the kids in the 40s. I helped a couple of them find their their families. Their parents were passed on when I was in my early 20s. Well, in my teens still. I went to an adoption group when I was 18 through about 20, 25. And so I helped them find their lost families. And two of them were from that incident. So I had put a layer down and then I put another layer on top, and it's darker just because it's the same color and I'm putting it on the same way. But it is that color because, what is this color next to here? Because it is layering. So it's just like layering anything. I don't know what color I just put on here. I was talking. Should have been paying attention. Oh, there. So I wanted to make this road a little darker. So we were fairly cool today here. It's supposed to warm back up. We were in the low 80s today, which was very nice. Usually August is in the 90s to 100s here. And I had kind of gotten out of my lane here. So I'm just widening the road there. It is what it is. I wish they could fix roads as easy as I could. I can. We have so much construction going on. The cone zones are maddening. Maddening. The funny thing is here, you go from, you can drive and you think you're in Denver or whatever, but you're just in another suburb. So there's no coordination between the suburbs of what roads. So you just never know where you're going to end up. And this palette I'm using is my Luca's. Luca's is they're paints from Russia. I bought these close to 10 years ago. They also go under White Knight, or they have another name sometimes too. But they're very vibrant pigments, and I really like them. So I know some people have quit painting with them because of everything going on over there. And I understand that if that's the way you want to handle it, that's awesome. But I've had these paints for years, and it wasn't the government that made these paints. It was independent people. So it's an independent company. So I don't have, something was wet over there. I don't have near the problem of using them right now. I am firmly behind Ukraine, though. Somebody asked me that. They sent me a DM and said, since you're using those, does that mean you're pro-Russia? I'm like, heck no. Oh, from Canada. That's cool. When I found my birth parents, they had actually been married before they had me. And I have an older brother and sister that are full relatives. And then I have gosh, that really got out. I don't like that. I have a half sister that's younger than me. So yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, my biological mother passed away many years ago. I never met her. I did talk to her on the phone several times. She was crazy. And when I found her, of course you want to hear that they've thought of you and blah blah blah. She did not. Penny did not. She said, I gave you away. That's what I meant to do. And that's exactly what she thought. So, and then my birth father, when I first called him, he was like, you're not my daughter. And it took him, I don't know, several years to admit that I was his kid and that I was just a one night stand between the two of them. Whatever. So, and my siblings, the older two they were adopted here in Colorado and raised by a fairly wealthy couple that was not, they had issues with drinking and stuff. So they didn't get raised in the best of homes. And my Chaz is my older brother. He's closer to my age than Lanita. And Chaz actually has, I'm just adding some more lines because I widened my roof a little because I went out of the lines there. So hopefully we'll pick up that. And I think I will, by denting the paper like this, it won't spread. It'll make it a crisper image. So I'm just trying to do that with paint. And so I'm not going back in with marker, or pen. I have some new gel pens. Well, I've had them a while. I just haven't got them out. And so I will probably use that. Or I love my black Uniball Signo. That might be a good thing to outline them with. And so. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's cool. Oh, yeah, I have Native American, but Penny was a storyteller, to put it nicely. And so I want to use this brown, I think. And put my mullions in here. And so I wanted to see what I was. And I am 33% Native American. And then I have I'm half Armenian. My birth father was full-blooded Armenian. His parents came over here when they were children to Florida after their parents had been in the genocide in World War I. Oh, that's cool. Hi, Rocky. Mr. Rocky Mountain Bear. Oh, non-identity. In Kansas, which is where I grew up and was adopted, you can, at 18, you can unseal your original birth certificate. So all you have to do is walk in to the records department and ask for your original birth certificate. And so my mom and I went down there and we did that. So I got all my information, and I had already seen a lot of it because my parents had the papers and they kept it in a lockbox, and I broke into the lockbox when I was very young so that I knew. So every time we went anywhere on vacations or when I was older and I went out with youth groups or whatever, I would always look up the last name that was in there. And when I turned 18 and then later found Penny, I learned that she had lied. She just made up that name. So all the years I spent and I would call those people. I would call and see if anyone was related to her or knew where she was. And I spent eons doing that. But I had spent enough time that under state law, if you do blah 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 and blah blah blah, you can get a private detective license. And so I could have done that. I was in college though. Didn't really have time for things like that. I had a kid and then I had a second kid and my husband worked and went to school, so I never did that. But I did help a lot of people, and I have over the years helped a lot of people find their birth families. I grew up and I had two good friends. One was at church and one they worked with my dad. And they never wanted to find their birth family. When we were young, and Kristen, who was Kristen, we were terrors. She did find her birth mom, and they're very good friends now. She spends a lot of time with her. I always thought it was funny. I was like, I thought you said you didn't want to do that. My cousin is adopted, and he never wanted to look for his family either. I just never, my birth family and I look totally different. I mean, my dad had dark hair, so at least I had that going for me, but my abilities and my interests and all that are much different than what my family is. So it made me want to search for, my birth family. But then that didn't really work out either. So I have a lot of relatives that are like, I don't know, 18 million cousins away or whatever in my information. I don't have anyone close like Penny. So oh, how fun. Oh, well, that's cool, Deborah. Yeah, I'm Cherokee, which makes a lot of sense. Why my bloodline is 33% and when it came from my birth mother, because the Cherokee Nation in America had been torn apart pre-revolution or Civil War, I mean. And so a lot of the Cherokees or people that claimed to be Cherokees back in the late 1800s were Armenians had intermingled with their blood. So just because of where they were geographically located, I guess, in the area of the South. And that's very so when I heard that, I was like, oh, that explains some stuff. That explains it. But my birth sister and brother that are older than me, Chaz and Lanita, they live in Wisconsin. But I know that Lanita has a daughter that was right around Jacqueline's age. I can't remember how close they were, but Jacqueline and her daughter looked exactly the same when they were kids. It was crazy. Crazy. You could tell they were related. It was just weird. Okay, as the purple dried down here, you can actually see the purple. So I'm going to go in here, I think with the lighter or the brighter of the two, and add some more purples. The best way to probably do that is with since I'm going to use gel pen or Uniball or whatever, it's probably better if I did it with them. But I will probably go in with them and put little petals or make little suggestions that will look like that. Oh. Cindy, that's funny. Oh yeah, there are lots of people who aren't interested, and there's nothing wrong with that. We're all different. I knew my medical history. My parents did, at least what Penny had told the social service department before she gave me away. Your sister-in-law did not appreciate it. Well, that's just the way it is. You didn't make him say that. But so yeah, I knew, like, my birth mother had lost all her teeth, mostly because they'd been punched out of her face. But she did have bad teeth, and I have horrible teeth. She had other issues, and so I knew about all of those. So I've always known I was adopted. My parents got me. Well, Penny left the hospital the day she had me. She walked out. They didn't even know she was gone. They knew she was giving me up, but yeah, she didn't even stay the night or whatever. And a foster mom took care of me. She was this African American lady that was a foster parent there in the little town I was born in, where the hospital was. And she wrote down everything, like almost minute by minute, the whole 2.5 months or so before my parents came and got me. So I have those letters too. And you could see her hand in some of the very first pictures my parents had. But she wanted to make sure they knew exactly everything. When I smiled, when I burped, when I did whatever, she wrote it all down. So I thought that was funny. There. The field's getting better. I still don't know what I'm doing up here. I need to do some more down here with this one. The house is looking better. It's kind of tilted in here. I think it's because of my camera or the way the paper's sitting there. Right now, it kind of looks like a wicked smile. I got to fix that. And I've lost most of my shingles now. Darn it. Yeah, adoption's a lot different nowadays than it was back when I was a kid. Yeah, it is nice to know more, especially with, medical or everything. It sure makes filling out my medical documentation much easier, though. So, and I know that my birth mom and my Penny and her mom died early too. They never made it. Neither one of them made it past 56. So I'm like, you guys we're starting to hit borrowed time here. You better love on me now. I'm a lot healthier than I know Penny was, and my birth grandma had rheumatoid arthritis, and that's actually what killed her. Was she was on morphine, because that's how they used to treat it, and they pulled it off her, which caused her to have a massive stroke, and then pass away. So I mean, that's not quite the same, but yeah, they didn't Penny didn't live very long. So I always make jokes about that to my family. My daughter doesn't appreciate it. She's like, Mother, stop. So Jared's is interesting. What was my birth mother's cause of death? She was a type 2 diabetic and had both her legs removed, one below the knee and one, at her ankle. And she was very heavy set and a smoker and very unhealthy. And she had been in and out of institutions her whole life. So she was very unhealthy. And so that's what she died of. My birth father, I met him when we moved out here to Colorado because ironically I used to drive by his house every day going to work for 3 years. But he was not nice. And he wanted control over everything and me to do what he said. I'm like, you're kidding. I'm an adult. I was 30 when I met, I was 29. And so I never saw him again after that. So I don't know. I know his wife died of dementia because they were going to put her in the place where I was the dementia specialist. And I was like, somebody else is going to have to take care of her. I do not have anything to do with that. So, and I don't know if he's still alive or not. His brother is a neurologist that deals with head trauma. And so I was here in the metro area. And so I was referred to him. I've been referred to him twice. I'm like, nope, can't go see him. So I always thought that was funny. But his parents were still alive. Well, I don't think his dad was. I think his mom was still alive. So, they lived longer and didn't have near the health problems. I know my half sister, her name's Melissa. I don't even know where any of them are anymore because they're very difficult to find. They lead a different kind of life than I do. And through no fault of their own, it's just happenstance. So I don't know where she is. I've looked them up again many times over the years and I haven't tried real hard, but I have not found them. So. Oh, I think I've been to that site, your site, my dear. I don't know if maybe I read the adoption story. I don't know. I'll have to go on there and look again. So the reason I'm jumping around is because if it gets too wet, watercolor, it goes into itself and stuff. So I want to be able to, I'm kind of liking the way this part up here is turning out. So what I'm doing is making the color a little more brilliant up there, darker, more pigment, less water, because I want you to see the blue through the trees and know that it's blue. It gives it more of a realistic bent. Oops, I just hit my knee on that. I'm sitting cross-legged on my chair. And my neck's hurting, so it's hard to paint when your neck hurts. Is this the one that I don't like? Yeah, where's that one? Is it this one? I don't think that's it either. I don't know. I don't know. What color blue is this one? Okay, that's the color blue that I think I put on originally. Yeah. I tried to turn my bracelets around. Sorry, guys. I actually had more on earlier because I found a couple sterling bangles that I had made. So I was trying them on, and one of them got stuck, and I pulled it off my hand. It hurt. Like, don't stick on my hand. I don't want you there. But I mean, I wear a ton of bracelets, so I didn't think I needed to put any more on. It's on this hand. It's this one. That's the one I made. I have 4 or 5 of them left. I used to sell them. They were a good seller. Because Zapata, if you know about Zapata, they really revived the bangle bracelet industry. So I couldn't afford them, but I knew how to make them, so I made my own. Actually, a Zapata, one of the Zapata girls I used to buy from, she has a set of my bracelets that she wears with her Zapata. So I'm just mixing the color. Instead of mixing it on my palette here, I'm just mixing it in on my painting so that the blues are together. So they're not one color of blue, it's several. And it's always smart to mix your colors no matter what you're doing, because it makes it a more cohesive look. And I do want this dark because it is a night sky. And so that's okay that it's dark. I want it that way. That way I can put stars up there. I want to put stars. I was afraid to do that. I just think I have too much paint on here. So I have a pretty good watercolor pad here. It's 100% cotton, and it's on a block, which means that they've glued the sides down so that it won't buckle on you so much. But it also won't buckle so much because I'm not using a lot of water tonight. When I did these original washes, there was a lot of water on here, and it needed to dry and that. So as I put water down here, I'm pulling the pigment from up here down, and I'm on an angle, a slight angle, so it will naturally come down, flow down because of gravity and such. So if you have more of a wood pulp paper, where you put your pigment down will sometimes stain, and you'll see the actual line of where you put your pigment down. Now, if I look from here to here, it's too blue, so I'm going to add some of that blue in, which is this blue. It's more of a turquoisey blue, and that way it'll look more cohesive as I go out. Yeah, see how much difference just a little bit of it made, because I'm not putting much in there. I'm just adding a little bit of that color, but it flows it better. Makes it flow better. Yeah, it is. I need it more. I'm not in a hurry, so I'm just dabbling it in. But if you were in a hurry and wanted to finish this, you'd use a bigger brush and do it in big strokes. I like doing it this way because I can actually really control how dry are you? You're pretty dry. What it's looking like. So I want some more brown up here through the trees, and I want it to go down there. One thing when I used to paint, it's just like when you're looking at jewelry through the camera, you'll see something that you may like, and Cindy understands this. We've looked at something and hadn't seen the mark on it for how many times, and then we're showing it and we can see the mark in the camera. So you can see your art in the camera. It helps a lot because you can see what's happening. it makes a big difference. So this tree was not, I added a lot of green, but not a lot of brown. And that just gives them some depth. And in this type of watercolor, we're adding layers to give it depth because we're not building a lot of actual dimension into it. This started to be dimensional until I did that. Silly girl. There we go. And I'll add more to that, but I wanted to go back to the blue now. And so I was using a little of that and a little of that. Put some more water on here, and we're going to go up here. And I will have to darken up this because to make my moon the circle shape, there's obviously there's a pencil mark, and I don't want that to show in my finished painting. Now, lots of times pencil marks are shown in watercolor, and that's perfectly acceptable. I don't care for that. I try to make it so that they're not shown. So I'm drawing in a pretty heavy line of that with pigment on it. Now I've wet my brush, and I'm just going to go like this around it, and the water pulls the pigment towards it. So it'll pull it out. And I'm going to add a little bit of that and a little bit of that. We're going to add some blue here so that we get that. My favorite moons were the ones like when there's just smoke in the air or pollution. Unfortunately, you get rings growing from the moon from that. And we see that a lot here, especially the last couple of years in Colorado because of all the fires. And we've had so much smoke. And usually the moon is a bit more orange then. I'm not sure what color I'll make it. So it's naturally turning the color this more of a turquoise color, even though I'm using the dark blue because of the yellow. So we're going to make it, oh, there, I hit the water there. We're going to go out. I need you to spread out. My husband must still be down here watching TV because my dogs aren't in here. It's so quiet. So tomorrow I'm packing orders and going to the post office with them. And there was something else I was going to go do tomorrow. I don't know. I might go to the thrift store and see if I can find some more storage containers because I was looking for them. And I need one more skinny one and one more wide one. And they haven't had it the last couple times. Oh, that was not the right color. The last couple times I've been there. And it makes me sad because I want to finish cleaning up my studio down here. I've got on my wall next to me, I got tons of my beads hung up now. Well, I have they're in bags. I'll show you. So that's crooked, Kristen. Oh, no, that's still crooked. How about I go that way? Now it's upside down. There. So all of these are hooks, and they have, oops, like if I take them out. So they're all pegboard hooks, and I have them, all this stuff hanging on them independently. And I think there's 85 hooks up there that I'm going to put stuff on. And then behind me, let me turn that back the other way. Where's the button? Oh, did I do that? And in front of me, I have, I'm going to have all my strands hanging over there. Then my check glass beads are, and I keep them in a acrylic container that you can see through. So I have a huge stack of those behind me. So it's getting better. It's just taking forever. And I guess I'm slow. I don't know. It's kind of overwhelming when you have so much. I really need to get my bigger brush out to finish the sky. So let me, while this is still a little wet, let me go back in here. And because it's cotton paper, it will spread for me, so that's good. That's what I wanted. So the moon is now more moony. I will probably make it darker with, I'm thinking this is, I don't know what color to tell you guys. I think it's Prussian blue. Oh, I thought maybe I could get it out that way. Let me see. It is it's ultramarine deep. So that's what color this blue is. I'll go over it with a darker blue, like a Prussian, which is just a darker blue, but I won't go over it like I'm doing now. I'll use a big brush and I'll put it like a glaze over it. So you'll still see the lighter colors behind it, but it will make the whole sky darker, which is what I want, obviously. Ultramarine deep. So ultramarine is one of what you use for a primary color, a primary blue. It's because it's a true blue. It doesn't pull red, or it doesn't pull red, or it doesn't pull greeny. It's just a pure pigment color red or blue. And when they say deep, that means that they the pigment they used, it's still the ultramarine pigment, but they didn't put as much binder in it as they did with the ultramarine. And I think it's a single pigment, which means they only used one. The other color I'm using is cyan primary, so it's also a primary. So if you're doing like red, yellow, and orange as your primary color, these two blues are what you would use. And you could do what's called a split primary, where you have the warm colors and the cool colors. So you could do that too. I haven't set up I had set one of those up, but there's so many what they call convenience colors, so it's already mixed for you, that most of the time I just do that. The only bad thing about that is if you don't understand colors and the colors you have, you can get mud really fast because they have too many pigments in them. And they'll turn you an ugly brown. I hadn't taken color theory. And my freshman year, I think it was, I was in watercolor class at art school, and they had a list and they gave us what colors to buy. So we bought them. They were all Winsor & Newton, who is the old standard kind of guard of watercolor pigments and of oils too. But and then we had to do a color chart. So let's say we were doing it for the cyan blue. So you put a color up there, and then all the colors you had go across and down, and cyan goes down. And then you see what it looks like and what colors it will make. And it's very fun, and it's a good exercise. Oh my God, but it took forever. And the question was what color does it turn when it's mixed? What's the darkest color? And the darkest it'll get is a really brown blah color, and it does that for every color. So it was, people are like, did we do it wrong? Now I know color theory, and I'm like, how dumb was I? I didn't know. It's funny because I've taught color theory. That's one of the things that I taught when I was teaching, and I love it. And people say how difficult it is. It's not difficult if you have a teacher who enjoys teaching it and doesn't make it mundane and scientific. So it's getting darker. So I like that. Cindy, I found a new journal channel. I really like the lady. I can't remember. It's called Unique Lovely Creation. I don't know. I'll send you a link to her. She's making the series that got popped up on mine was making her art journal. And I love it because she does it like I do. She doesn't necessarily have it all planned out before she makes the journal. So I'm having fun. And it's a series. And I binge watched the first 2 last night, and I liked it so much I didn't watch Gail Augustinelli's. She posts at midnight my time every night, and usually I'll watch that and then go to bed. So I'll go to bed around 1, or it's the first thing I watch in the morning. And I watched this lady's instead of Gail's last night, and then I think I did 5, so she's on 6 now. I think they're not full hours, but I have enjoyed it a lot. Oh, that looks good on there. I really should get out my bigger brush. So one thing I'll tell you is I'm using a number 6 Faber-Castell brush. It's a relatively small brush, and it's a round one. But I would, like, if I was teaching or had someone new, I would tell them they need to get out one of their big brushes. You can either get out a flat brush to do this with, and this is a 3/4 inch flat brush, master stroke. So this is probably one I bought, I don't know, years ago, probably not even for watercolor. You can use one of these, which is a calligraphy quill brush, which is actually what I should probably use for that. That one's a little big. Or you can use just a bigger round. I was trying to find a bigger round. I don't have, oh, there it is. Sorry, my arm's right in the way. This is a bigger round. This one is a number 7. Oh, so it's only 1 step over. But you can see the difference. Even though this just says a 7, there's no standardization in watercolor brushes. And so you don't ever really know. You have to look at the brush and know. So I put this, I don't think I've used this one yet. I got all the sizing off it. Oh, Rocky had a question up there. Oh, darn it. I missed your question, Rocky. Oh, yes, I do them on wood. 2 things about doing watercolor on wood is, so this is what acrylic looks like on wood. And you can get good definition. Which one of these did I do watercolor on? That is I think I started doing watercolor on it. So when you do wood, so let me do the red here. The problem with wood, not that it's a problem, but when you put watercolor down, it spreads because the wood soaks in both of the pigment and the water that's on your brush. So it doesn't necessarily hold its color so well. So what I would do is put a clear gesso on it so that I could watercolor and it would look more like this. I thought I had a watercolor piece of wood over here. I guess I don't. I sold all those. But yeah, I like doing those. I did those. That's a wood ornament I made last year, and I sold them on my website. I just renewed my domain name today, or I don't know. It just renewed. It renews in August. So that was done. And snap brush, I'll show you. It's just, here's one of my snap brushes. I love snap brushes. Nope, that's not a snap brush. Oh no, I may not have a snap brush over here, but so it has 2 colors on it like this, and it says snap, and it's by Princeton, I believe, is who makes the snap brushes. Let me see here. I have my brushes in a terrible thing. These are all these are all the brushes I've just been using lately. Let's see here. I have them in a kitty cat planner. I tried to sell it. No one bought it, so I used it. So I've been using it. So they're just a cheaper series of brushes. They're, I have a bunch of them because I love them. They don't cost as much, and you can get all the sizes for relatively inexpensive. They're still kind of expensive brushes. There it is. Here's a snap brush. And this is a number size 10. It's a round, and it's by Princeton. I was right. Oh, I can't have the cat in my lap. So here. Princeton. There. Princeton, number 10, round. And so they're made out of artificial faux hair, and they're awesome. I love them. You can use them. This is pretty good snap. So you can use this either for watercolor or acrylics. Well, yeah, you can see how firm they are because it snaps right back. But here, this is my Black Velvet Silver. And I can't remember who makes the Black Velvet line. These are fairly expensive. And here's what it looks like. Oh, shoot. But is that one a 10? They're both 10s. See the shape of this one? This one's made specifically for watercolor. So it's a round, so that means it goes to a point. But see how it kind of curves out and then goes into the point? That belly is going to hold a lot of water and a lot of pigment. This one isn't going to hold as much water or pigment because it's straighter, and it's made that way, and it doesn't have as good a point as the Black Velvet. And it's made that way so that you can use it for acrylic, or which is a thicker paint, or watercolor. Yes, I think that would. It would be like what I did on here with the roof. I outlined it first. So yeah, that would help a lot. And I don't know if you would want to use a knife because I don't know if that would be a thick enough divot. You might want to use the back side of the knife or the back side of the blade because that would give you a little bit thicker indentation. So no, you're not off topic. That's fine. So yeah, that's the difference. Snap brushes are made for dual purpose. And the Black Velvet is specifically a watercolor brush. But I love the snap brushes. I have tons of them. I use them when they go on sale for 20% off. If I happen to be at the art store when they're selling them and they're 20% off, I pick up a couple. And I have them. I probably have one in every size of those, or pretty close. I like to use bigger brushes. So this is a quill brush, though. This is a number 3 quill brush. And they're used for inks or Chinese kind of paintings or Japanese. So they have the binding here. That's what holds it to the brush instead of a metal ferrule like this one has. And traditionally, they're bamboo handled, and they have usually goat hair is usually what they use on it. So it's a little bit stiffer, but it holds the ink. So I put blue on here, and I got some water, and I can spread it out through the whole painting now because I'm using a bigger brush, and it holds it. These are Flydom art, so Flydom. And they come in a set of 4 or 5. I can't remember. And they were under $20 for the whole set. And I got it off of Amazon on Prime Day. This is one of my Prime Day purchases. I got an additional 5% off or something. It wasn't really that great a deal, but I've been looking for some, and I didn't. And the bamboo ones, they usually don't sell in a set for under $50. So if you're going to spend your money on watercolor, there are 2 different kinds of camps. There's a camp that says buy the best watercolor paper you can afford. Hopefully it's 100% cotton. And there are other camps that say spend your money on your brushes. I say buy the best supplies that are in your price range of all of them as you can and build them up over time. I have a huge I have a paper problem anyway. I like papers. I like stationery stuff. So that's an issue for me. But if you ever see your watercolor that's 100% cotton go on sale, that's a great time to pick it up. It's not going to go bad. You just need to store it so that it doesn't get crinkled up and doesn't get dust and stuff on it. So that it won't go bad. Your watercolors traditionally don't go bad. I buy old watercolor sets if I can find them, like on eBay or whatever, that are like Winsor and Newton or whatever. And if they're still good, if they're laid out like this, you could still use them. They do mold some because they're made with honey, some of them. And that's a very traditional way to make them. And so those sometimes mold. You don't want to paint with a moldy. You did. The black one is much pricier. I probably could buy 2 snap brushes for the one black one, maybe 2.5. I don't think 3, but Black Velvet, the silver line, isn't the most expensive line. And I honestly have a problem paying a lot for brushes. So I tend to, I'll pay a lot for watercolor paper. And I'll pay a lot for watercolor paint if it's good pigment and it's made by, reputable people. Okay, so I'm gonna clean this out. Don't ever leave your watercolors in watercolor brushes or any brush in your water. I know some people who use glue leave their glue brushes. That's fine. Those are throwaway brushes anyway. But yeah, don't leave stuff in your water. It bends your bristles and they're very hard to get back. If you're having problems with your bristles, this one's a little dry actually right now, I noticed. You can take some hair conditioner and run it through there and let it sit on there overnight and then rinse it out. That will help bring its shape back. So that's one thing you can do to help bring your brush shape back. There's other things too, but if you take care of your brushes, I have friends that will not see how I'm putting my brush in here now. I have friends that are watercolors that refuse to even do that. They get if they have paints like this, they have a brush that they use to pull the paint out and put on the palette because they don't want to bend their bristles. I am not that, that neurotic about my paintbrushes. Shoot. But I also don't have, I know the one girl that does it, she paints with $100 brushes. So I have one that's expensive like that, but most of mine aren't that expensive. Because a lot of people, if you actually get expensive supplies, they won't use them. They're not for collecting. You want to use your supplies. I have lots of paints because I like having lots of paints. And I like having lots of colors. I like the option of it. That's just the way I am. And it's hard for me to use things up because it's a psychological thing. But because when I was in college in art class, I would run out of supplies and couldn't replace them necessarily. So to me, it's very hard, and I don't tend to create something if I don't have a lot of it in excess. Now, I've gotten better over the years, but especially with watercolor paint, I want bright colors, true colors, and I want them to stay color fast so that they'll last. I'm not as concerned about color fast as some people. You can watch Amy on, I think, the Wooded Studio or the Wood or I don't know. If you want to know, just put it down in the comments and I'll link her channel. Her main concern with every supply is color fastness, which is fine, but most people aren't painting something that's going to last 100 years anyway, even if you're selling it. And there are ways to mitigate the colors from fading. You can use a spray to put over top or a wax of watercolors that helps block the UV light, which is what fades them. Or you can use UV glass. And I always tell people never hang your paintings, no matter what it is, in direct sunlight. I live in Colorado. I live at almost 1,500 feet and a mile high. Obviously, we're the Mile High City. And I have a couple paintings from high school that the sun hits sometimes during the year, and we're close to it, and it hasn't faded. So, I mean, fading's real, but I don't think it needs to be your primary worry. At least it wouldn't. It's not mine. I went through a phase where I was kind of concerned about it, and that didn't last very long. So I wanted this to be hay bales, but that's not really looking like a hay bale to me. So I may bring that out, and we'll just add a row there. I'll have to figure that out. They finished baling hay right around us, so I may have to go take some pictures, and maybe this will be that one. And this will be something else, a field of wheat or something. So there are always ways to fix your mistakes. And like I do, because now I use ink on most of my watercolors, so it's technically a mixed media. It's a lot easier to fix my mistakes. So I want this. Oops, don't have enough. This Faber-Castell I got in a set of watercolor pencils. And I love this brush. I don't know if they sell it in any other, if you can get it independently or not, but I love their brush. If they do have other brushes, I will probably, when I have some extra money again, buy them. But my husband calls me a supply hoarder. I love watercolors, watercolor supplies. I love having lots to collage with. So, but I've actually used more of my supplies in the last year and a half than I have ever before. Because I'm painting more. One, because I do Monday night arting. He calls it my farting. He always asks, so what are you doing for farting tonight? So he keeps me online. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing tonight. And then I remembered I had this picture and I want to finish it. I may scan it into my Procreate. Well, I probably won't scan it. I'll probably just take a picture of it on my phone and then put it in Procreate on my iPad. And then I may use it for a card or something. I haven't quite decided yet. And see here where it kind of smeared. I'm going to, do I want to? I don't know. I'm going to go back in and add some marks there with this green. Can't see that green because I pushed this down. I pushed my camera up or something. Oh. I sold a bunch of my bookmarks Friday night there. Move my camera. So I'm going to go in here and add the definition back that was lost because it spread because of there was a wet spot, too much wet. I don't think that's the right color. I don't think that's the right color either. But that's okay. So, and I have a bunch of, I showed you those wood ornaments. I probably won't do anything more to them because they look pretty good. But I have round ceramic ornaments. They're pretty big balls. They're like 3 or 4 inch balls. They're huge. And I've decorated them. Oh, you like the fence? Thank you. That turned out good. I've done lots of fences. That's probably why. I like to paint barns, and I usually put a fence in with my barns. Okay, this field is annoying me. So I think what I want to do is get out my big brush. Awesome, Sydney. I'm so proud of you. Good girl. That makes you feel good, doesn't it? So this is really wet, and I think I'm going to go over it with the light green, which is the color under there. And quit falling down. And I'm just going to put a glaze over it. I'm going to keep quite a bit of water in there, not much paint. You can't really see the paint on the brush. You can see it a little bit. And I'm just going to go over it. Oh, yeah, that helps. So that's called glazing. You're just adding a layer of single whatever color to the whole area. There. Now, some of that paint underneath will be disturbed, where the darker green, and some of it, most of it wasn't. This right here, you can see the difference now. So you brush over it gently, and the longer your paint's been on your surface, the less it will disturb when you add your glaze. Actually, I'm going to add a glaze to this one too, because I don't really like the way those cabbages turned out. Oh, that's good. So I'm using a lighter color. Didn't know what color. I didn't keep a tab on what. Usually I have a spare piece of watercolor paper that's the same as what I'm painting on, and I will paint the colors on it. So I have a strip of what I've painted, so I know what I've done. I did not do that. It's like a key, a water, only instead of being the distance, it's there. It's just what colors you used. There we go. Okay, so I put a glaze over that. And why it's wet and stuff, you may not be able to see the difference, but it does make a big difference. These are still too wet. The flowers down here are too wet for me to go over. You can still see some shining, so I'm not going to put a glaze on those. And I don't glaze a lot, but this, for whatever reason, on this one I have glaze. I'm going to put a light yellow over this one, like a golden yellow. And I'm just going to lay it down here, and I'm going to take a chance. Oh, yeah, I do like that. That makes it look more like wheat. There. Hey, that brightened it up quite a bit. I think I will go in with my yellow. And I'm going to add, this was one, I made it into one, but it was mini. And so I'm going to make the light in my house windows a little brighter. And remember, watercolor dries lighter than what you're putting it on. So it looks a little neon right now, but it will tone down as it dries. Don't fret. Then I'm going to put it up here. Now, I think that was the color I used on the moon. So, and yeah, it's dry all around it, so it won't spread out and turn green. So I think this is permanent yellow. Oh yeah, permanent lemon yellow. So this is a true yellow. Yellow is a transparent color. So you can't ever put it on something another color, because it's not going to disguise that color. It's transparent, and watercolor by definition is a transparent medium, so you're going to have issues with it. I don't want the trees to bleed out, but I do want that yellow under behind them, so I'm just dipping it in. My brush isn't too wet anymore, so I'm just dipping it in the water about up to there. And then I put it in my yellow paint, and then I pull it out. Eventually, I will go back in and add, you know, the moon has craters and stuff. So, oh my gosh, these are killing me tonight. That's because I didn't clean up after my auction. Yes, weekend. Harley was here, so I just did stuff with her. So there's that. So that does look a lot better. Let's get in there, guys. How long have I been on? An hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. I am not a fast painter. One, I'm talking to you guys as I'm doing it, so I have to contemplate. Okay, I think I'm done with this huge brush for a little bit. Always, when you're doing watercolor, always rinse your brush out before you start and check on your paper or anything to make sure there's no color in your bristles, because it could ruin whatever it is you're doing. I'm going to go back in on my fence posts. This is how I always painted before. Now I use inks and stuff, so it's not quite the same. So I'm doing this more old school, more like what I would have done in college. Everything would have been painted. You wouldn't have added anything in. Those got really blobby and fat. Oh, well. They were from a good cottonwood tree. There. That's okay. That doesn't look too bad. This, I don't understand. I must have a piece of oil. The more you touch watercolor with your hands, you can risk transferring your oil from your hands onto the paper itself. And you don't want to do that because then it creates like a resist. So if you wash your hands before you start working or use some hand sanitizer, that helps a lot because that pulls the oils out of your hand. Or just don't touch your painting. I'm making I can't say the French word, but it's a stick with a ball at the end. And it used to be made out of, like, they would find a long stick, and then put leather around the end. So the leather would touch the painting and you would hold the stick, and then you could put your arm on it and brace it. So I have one made, and I'm showing you how to make it out of a paint stirrer instead of, leather, and how to use it. So I'm working on that video. I thought that would be fun. If you watch Denise Love, she uses her paint stirrer. It kind of annoys me every time because she lays it flat onto here. A paint stirrer stick has a ridge on it, so it's going to be like a ridge like this. Well, if you put a ridge down that isn't rounded on your thing, you have a risk of indenting your paper, and you don't want to do that. That's why you want a round end on it. So every time she does it, I'm like, oh no. Especially if you're using watercolor paper, because it will indent. Trust me, I showed you that over here. Most of that's gone. So I will have to probably add that in with a black permanent pen or my Uniball Signo. So, okay, that's looking better. Looking better. I'm not really thrilled with this part of it, but who knows? I could always frame it off. I don't know yet. And I don't have anything going back here. I haven't thought that far ahead. And my door is still looking very undoory. So I'm going to put an orange on there. Not because I like orange, but to brighten the red up and bring it out. There. So, yeah, now you can actually see there's a door there. So, and I don't have anything in here. And I'm still not real happy with the way this is looking. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I don't think I want to use that color. Let's try this. So I'm using a lighter, probably the color I originally used in the background here. And I'm just adding that in, adding some more depth to the feel of it. Layers are always good. That's what helps make your paintings interesting. And if you're doing a abstract painting or abstract anything, layers are what creates that interest and makes it look painterly and professional and not just a flat layer of paint.
No.
Good night, honey. I love you. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's the thing with especially cards because they take a while and people don't like to pay, the money for them, but cards take a long time and it's different kind of painting. Um, my my one friend, her cards, she does them on watercolor, then she rips them out like with a decal edge and then glues them. Well, actually, I don't think she glues it. I think she uses double-sided tape and then puts them on pre-made cards so that she's working on a nice piece of paper. But she also charges $8 a card. And they're 4x5s maybe with the envelope. If you buy the original, she does prints for cards too, which is how I've done most of my cards. But like my bookmarks, which are, like this, I charge $3.50 online for them. So, they're not very big, but they do take time. And I had to pay for the paper. That's good. I use watercolor paper and I just cut the strips of them off, or I tape off the strips, and then I do whatever I'm doing on them. I love doing those because they're, I can just experiment and try new things. That's my bookmarks are where I've built a lot of my style up, and I figured out, oh, I like to outline them this way, or I like to do this with them. So that's good. Yeah, I think that's the good way to do it. I didn't think of it, but I know that's what Carrie the Crafter does too on his cards. So I did get I ordered off a set off Temu, and I got a prize, or I don't know what. And so I got a round 100% cotton pad from Temu. I don't know. It'll be here by the 19th, I think. Although my last 2 orders from Temu have been late. They give you a $5 credit if they're late. So, and I can't complain because my Amazon packages have been late too, and they don't give me no credit. So, and if you look, it looks like the sun is coming down in this part right here because it's lighter. So I'm not really feeling this. Something's wrong. I'm missing something. I don't know what. I'll have to figure that out. I'll have to sleep on that. So I don't think, oh yeah, that's what I want. I want to put a different color green in the middle. Oh, you're using your Strathmore? Well, always try and get your Strathmore when it's on sale. I'm sure you know that. I do tend to only buy my papers when they're on sale. I have I was at like one of those Amazon crate places. Lollipop trees? Yeah, maybe I do. I don't know. I like lollipop trees. I can make them. My pine trees aren't really that good, but whatever. Not everything you make is perfect. I used to only paint, and everything I would have to paint would have to become something I could sell. This is much more fun. one, if it won't sell, I won't even put it up probably, but it'll go in one of my books. Oops. That I keep all my stuff in that's finished. I have lots that isn't finished. I have a chicken that's not, well, it's a rooster. It's not finished. I have a painting of my daughter from, well, she was 3 or 4 and she's 33 now. I have that painting that's halfway done. I have a painting of my mom and dad from, they were at a party and they were dancing and somebody took a picture of them, and it's a painting, or it's a picture I really love of them. And I have it sketched out, but I've never started it. So, and my style's changed, which allows me to sometimes go back and finish things that weren't done, and I can, update them and they look better. Yeah, I'll probably have to go on and look at some folk art stuff. Some folk art paintings, because this is killing me. It's not doing what I want it to do. At all. But I think it'll be good to have in my Pinterest, and then I can make it more like what I want, which is okay too. I have an angel over here that I signed, but I never put a face on her. And I know I did her in probably 2012 is when I did all those angels. Because a lot of them I framed and gave away or people bought from me. I had 2 that I sold, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 that I gave away. And it's funny, I talked to some of those people and I'm like, I have your angel. So at least I know they liked it. So I don't do many cards, like I said. But I think I'm going to start doing some with some of my mixed media collages. Okay, so this is turning out better down here. It's looking more like a field like I want it to. So my brush is pretty dry, and I'm doing some dry brushing on it. Yeah. Yeah, Cindy Pate's awesome. She's been developing her style, and I love it. It's very whimsical. I don't paint whimsy very well. I'm getting better at it, but I can't say that. I like bright colors and I use them to paint, but I don't necessarily paint whimsical. Yeah, Cindy, you're right. I had her hanging up on one of my things. So this is her. She was a breast cancer awareness. I think I painted her. Well, it must have been earlier than that, because I painted her when my mom passed away, I think. I'll make a card out of her somehow. I don't know what I'm going to do about that mess, because it's a mess. Like, it is a mess in there. But this I did. This was with watercolors, and then I have metallic pens on it. So that's all watercolor on that. It's a nice piece of paper. I don't know where the paper came from. I write on the back of my paintings now what the papers are, just so I know, not so my buyer knows or anything. They don't. I know some artists will tell you what poundage your paper is and if it's 100% cotton and all that. I don't do any of that. And I've never sold anything at a gallery where it was required to do that. So I didn't. Yeah. Well, and Diane Anton's like that. Or Antoni, or however her name is pronounced. She's French. But I like her stuff. I used to watch her every day and paint. So I'm using a very dry brush because I want it to pick up the texture of the paper. And this is a cold press paper. which means that there's texture on it. The hot press means it's been, like how I always explained it to the kids to remember is the hot press, you use hot, an iron, like an iron. So it's very smooth. It's good for illustrations. It's good for things you want to have very crisp lines. Oh, that looks so much better. That kind of thing. And then cold press, they haven't done anything to it. It's just the way they rolled it out. They've done a little. They put some sizing on it and stuff because there is another type called rough that has actually only been pressed once usually and is rough. And to be honest, I would rather paint with that than anything. That's very expensive though. It's like virgin olive oil, from the first press. So I'm not digging this at all. This is really getting on my nerves. So I think what I'm going to do is go in and make these look more like flowers, kind of. I don't know. I'm going to see what I can do here. And I'm not really I'm just making it look kind of like an X. So that it looks like there's some petals coming off it, like a 4-petal flower or 5-petal flower. Because your eye will see that's helping it. Your eye will naturally make the blobs into a flower. Because our brains look for patterns and they look for something that they can, oh, that's a flower or that's a smiley face or whatever. It will make it into something it understands. That's going to help it. See, the longer and longer you put into something usually is good. You can't overwork stuff, especially if you're using too much water on it. But each section has to be done, and like for me in this. So it's going to take a while. It wouldn't have taken me near as long if I had done it off camera, but I also have a headache and I've taken my muscle relaxants and my painkiller pills and all that stuff. So I'm a little more relaxed that way too. Actually, I'm just tired. That's how I know that I had that my neck was really hurting is because I didn't pass out. And I don't feel anything. So that muscle relaxant had a lot to work on. And I've been having more and more. I used to have headaches, really bad ones, like for years. And I always have a headache, a little low-grade headache. But they've been getting bad lately. I don't know. We've had a lot of storms moving in. And I don't know if as I'm getting older, I'm more barometric pressure oriented or something. Because I've had some whoppers the last probably the last 6 weeks, they've gotten pretty bad. That's why I wasn't going to come on tonight. I was going to cancel, but then painting it mostly helps me, art. But I know this wasn't turning out, so it was kind of annoying me. But I can take this, I could color all over it with pens and ink and markers, and then I can rip it up and use it in collage and never know what it was, if that's what I want to do. There's no pressure. Makes art a lot more fun. See how I'm making these blobs bigger? I didn't think that's what I needed at first, but to get the look I wanted, of a flower field, it definitely needed bigger blobs. Yeah, I know, Cindy. Good night. Thanks for coming. You're wonderful. Happy birthday. So yeah, that's really helping to make the blobs more distinct. I'm not even making them more distinct necessarily. I'm just making them larger and having a shaky hand tonight is really a benefit. I know people complain about their shaky hands, but in art you can use it for your benefit. Don't fight it. Make it part of your art. And then it's an asset instead of a something that's a problem and taking away from your art. Oh yeah, that's helping a lot. It's looking more like the poppy field in Wizard of Oz. And I've used a different color red. So I've used 3 different color reds on this. And that's really helping. I wonder if I can make this red pop out more with this even. This door's annoying me that it's not popping out. I should have probably made it blue. I was going to originally make it yellow, but then those have yellow in them. So, of course, I didn't want to do that. The windows. Okay. Yeah, I think this will really help it when I add the purple and the yellow flowers bigger. Yeah, that looks a lot better, guys. I'm liking that. Now, that's cool, Rocky Mountain Bear, Mr. Bear. Have you been making anything out in your studio lately? And your daughter should be getting ready to go back to school soon too, huh? His daughter's adorable. Is she old enough to be in school? I guess I should ask that first. Maybe she's not quite school age yet. And all I'm really doing is I'm holding the brush way down towards the end. And so I don't have a lot of control over it. And I'm just making sure there's pigment on my brush. It's pretty dry. Then I'm going into the reds. And wherever there was a red, I just kind of dab it. And anyone can do that. That doesn't take a skill. Anyone can make a field of flowers. And actually, if you don't, the less pressure you put on yourself, the better the flowers will look because they're more random that way. Oh, I'm going to have to take some more Missile Rocks. My neck's killing me. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to let that settle. She just finished high school. You feel old? Oh, I remember that. My youngest is 27 and my daughter's 33. And their birthdays are coming up fast this year. So you're not near as old as I am. Yeah, Harley was listening to some song. It's been remade from something in the 80s. And she wanted to, she's 10, she doesn't know. So she brought it out and she was, listen to this, Grandma. And I'm like, oh, I love this song. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, this song was, and when I was a kid in high school. She's like, it can't be that old. So I changed the purple to the other purple. I'm not sure which one I like better. We have columbines out in our front yard that we planted 2 or 3 years ago. They're finally spreading because we had such a wet spring and summer. And then, let's see. And then they're purple, and I have the kind of wine colored ones. Now they also have a blue columbine, and I think there's one other color. And so I'm hoping that I can get some of those next year and add them in to fill in some of the spots where we don't have them. But they're in our front, and they spread like mad this year because it was so wet. And we bought phlox this year, and it spread, which usually it doesn't the first year you have it because we were so wet. It's just been great to have all that moisture. for us. Anyway, I know some places that cause flooding. And floods are terrible. That's the worst natural disaster, I think, because the water is disgusting. Just ruins everything. We were flooded in 93 when the Mississippi backed up all the rivers, and we had bought our house 15 days before the water demolished it. It was up on a rise, so half of it got wet and then the other half didn't. We got new carpet. We had to buy a brand new air conditioner because of it. And we had bare floors with just the carpet tacks around them. And Jacqueline was 5, maybe. We just bought that house. That was 93, and she was born in 89, the end of 89. So yeah, I always worried that she was going to step on the tack strips, but she didn't. She survived. So I've been through a tornado, many tornadoes, and survived them. I've been through a flood. Oh, and we were putting in a fence, and so we had already got the holes put in. And so when the water receded, you'd go out there and you'd find a frog stuck in it, or there were fish in it in the holes. It was very strange. We could have fished in our backyard or our front. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm liking it much more with the bigger, not just the splats, but with kind of the odd shaped ones. That's looking a lot better. Oh, I love wild blackberries. That's awesome. I was going to plant some in our backyard because we have like the yard, and then there's a step up to the next level, and it's mostly rock. But I thought about putting some up there, but they're very invasive. They will take over everything. So I'm going in some of the places where there's a lot of red and just adding dabs of purple into it so that there's some different colors there. That's looking much better. I'm covering up some of the places where the yellow splats went on the purple because they looked green. And I don't want green. I have enough green underneath. Definitely. Yeah, they do. That one ended up a big blob. I may have to go back in and add some red. I'm getting tired. Oh, it's 11:30. I've been on 2 hours. So I'm not going to add the yellow in tonight because I want to make sure the red and the purple are very dry before I go back in, because it'll turn orange or some browny green, and I don't want that. So, and with my pen, what I'll do in these blobby places is I may go back in and add some definition to them. So I think that's going to turn out okay. We're still not sure about the rest of it, but I'm kind of okay with this part down here, just because it does look like a field. Now I'm going to add maybe, oh yeah, that's what I'll do. So I have a very dry brush, and I'm just going over it so it gives it some texture. And I have a light yellow on here. Have a good night, Bear. Thanks for stopping in. It was nice to chat with you again. I'm getting off in a minute or two anyway. I'm with you. I got stuff I got to do. Oh, that looks so much better. So you may not be able to see that in the there. It's giving it texture. And I can tell you, I've seen many wheat fields. It does have texture. They do. There. That's getting better. Now I have to figure this one out. I still don't know what to do with that. Well, that might be it. That might be the key. I really had no expectation of what this would turn out like. I just knew I'd know when it was done and how I wanted it. So that's really all I can tell you. I really wanted the house up there, but then I put the moon too close. So from the beginning, it wasn't the way I wanted it. Or planned it. So sometimes it's better not to have the expectations, because then you can get it to how you want it to look while you're doing it, based on just what's turning out on here. And for my head injuries, I no longer, since I was probably about second grade, I no longer see pictures in my head. I can't picture something. I know when something's done, and I know when it's, when it looks right, but I don't picture it. I just know. People ask me how to explain that, and I don't know how to explain that to you, because I didn't have a picture, but I know that that's not where the house was supposed to be. And I knew, I just know. And I don't ever remember seeing pictures. So to me, it's not a loss. I can't, like people say, go to your happy place, or, visualize the beach or whatever. I can't do that. And for a long time, I didn't understand that I couldn't do that. And once I figured it out, it's made a difference. But yeah, I don't have like pictures in my head. That's why I relied originally for years relied on having a picture to look at, to replicate, or to give me an idea of where I was going. I don't need that so much anymore, especially when you're painting non-realistic. It helps that a lot. But in college, it would have been nice to know that's why I needed reference pictures so badly. If I had known that, it would have helped a lot of things. I'm not sure this color is the right color. Oh no, that's like a dead color. What I mean dead is that it doesn't have the vibrancy or tone behind it. That's all. I don't mean like, I don't know. Yeah, it would have been a lot easier had I understood that I didn't see pictures. And that's why reference photos were such a big deal for me. I'm adding green, so it's a different color green than the background or the blobs that are on there now. And I'm adding it in between. And I'm not adding, I'm doing it like around with the rose, but I'm not making a specific shape or anything. And it's a fairly dry brush again. I'm just doing that to add more density to it. See that? Yeah, it looks a lot better like that. Like here, I don't have anything there. So. And I may have to go back into this several times to do that, but you have to let everything dry first. And it's pretty, even though it's cooler here, it is still dry. And I have a fan on. It's actually kind of chilly in here. I could have put a sweatshirt on. Oh, my neck. It is stiff. So always when you're painting or doing any type of crafting or arting, make sure that you take time to shake your hands out, loosen your neck up, stand up, walk around. I know I don't do that when I'm on with you guys. because then you just be left staring. But I keep rotating my neck and rolling my shoulders and stuff to keep it loose, because you don't want to hurt yourself, because then you won't be able to keep doing what you like to do, what you love. So you have to give your body a break for that. And stretch your legs, stretch your arms, play the piano with your hands so that they loosen up. There's all different things. If you need ideas, let me know. I think I have a sheet that I used to hand out in class to say, do these things. And you should stand up every hour. And it really does make a difference. If you're painting on an easel, then you're standing up. Oops. I think my dog hit something. So that's good. So when I get off, I'll stretch my head, my back, and my neck, and my arms. And I'm always real careful of my hand because I have overuse syndrome in this right hand. And I had injured it. I hit it against a doorknob, and that's what caused it originally. And so I'm careful with that. That's why I do more than just paint, because it uses other motor skills, fine motor skills, when I'm doing my silversmithing or I'm doing my beading. And that's usually why I have paint. That looks a lot better. I like the way it looks on there versus the way it's looking in person, but hopefully I can get it to that point eventually. Yeah, that looks so much better. So it's just taking layers. That's all. And that's fine. It takes time. But that's why artists charge what they do. Oh, I want to use that. This color, maybe this color. Because most people don't do a painting in 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Most of my paintings I spend between 5 and 10 hours on. And that doesn't include the thinking about it or planning it out or any of that. That's just the time I'm painting. And this isn't a large one. This is 12 by 9 by 12. So it's not an incredibly large painting. Although most of the time I tape off my sides and I don't fill the whole, like this is all full. I don't necessarily do that. You know what? I wonder if I added some green in here, how that would look. More solid. So I'm going to add some green in here too. I don't know if I'll stick with the dark like that, but yeah, I think that will help. And I'd say if you're sitting long periods, have a good chair. I don't have a good chair in here. I just have one of my metal kitchen chairs. It has a cushion on it. I actually colored the cushion. I actually painted on my cushion. So I have that in here. But it's not comfortable after a couple hours. When I do auctions and stuff, I have to get up in between my turns. So I'm just doing weird squiggly lines now in here because I want to fill it in and make it look like, I don't know, something like there are plants growing. And there's no rhyme or reason. I'm just using my brush to put down the dots. And I am kind of making the, it's not so straight in between the fields of color. It's more irregular. That way, it doesn't matter that there's a different color paint next to it. I don't have to keep the edges straight. So I do think that's helping. I'll leave the dark lines because that'll help create the illusion of plant lines, till lines. So I will continue to use those, and I might go back in and add to them. I might not, who knows? But that is helping. And I'm doing different sections so that they don't bleed into each other because I do want it kind of defined, these sections. And see how I made it bumpy up there? Let's see. That's better for you. So I'm making it kind of bumpy or irregular. Oops, don't close, please. Very little water on it. And I'm using all different kinds of greens, not one specific one. This would be called, this is akin to scumbling. Which means you use your brush up and down, and usually it's a thick goat hair brush. And that's pretty close to what I'm doing anyway. Because I don't have, my bristles are very dry. That's how I'm getting that texture and those shapes. And you can use different kinds of brushes to get different shapes. Oops, that's a little wet. That one was a little over wetness, overdone. So over here where it bled, I'm just trying to add some more dimension in there and definition. And this is how the Impressionists, like Monet and Van Gogh and others in that era did things. They used brush strokes to make the textures literally in the oil paints. And those brush strokes combined to make whatever it is they were creating. If you look at Starry Night, which is by Vincent van Gogh, you could see the brush strokes in the swirls of the stroke, like this here. It's kind of like pointillism, where you just use points to create whatever you're making. And so that's how they took the impression of it, the impression of the shape of the cabbage or the flowers over here, and then use that illusion to create the picture, the overall picture. So that was new. That was a new technique that they created. And it is still used widely in most artists' repertoire. It was radical back then. I don't know how much you know the history of Vincent. Vincent van Gogh is one of my favorites for many reasons, and not just his painting, but his whole story. And so his brother Theo was his agent, and when Vincent died, they cleaned out his studio, him and his wife. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, sorry. And they had all his paintings, and then Theo passed away, and Theo's wife is the one that showed Vincent's paintings and made them world-renowned known like we do now. So without her, we wouldn't have had Vincent, and we wouldn't have known about him. Yeah, you can see what I'm doing. So in his lifetime, he did not sell paintings very often, and they weren't the paintings he liked that often sold. They were ones he was commissioned to do or something and he didn't like. Most of the time he had no money and lived a fairly pauper existence. Very poor. So yeah, that's looking much more fieldy, giving it that texture. So I'll have to probably go up to that one up there and do something similar. I won't do the same thing because I want the fields all to be different, have their own uniqueness about them, but I will do something. It might turn out yet. All art goes through a stage. I always called it the ugly stage, where it's ugly and you're like, oh my God, I just need to stop. There's nothing good's going to come out of this. You have to work through that stage. Sometimes you may have to put the painting away for days, weeks, months, years, however, whatever, and go back to it when you can look at it through fresher eyes. Especially with watercolor, because it dries different than it goes on. You do have to give it a chance to settle in and cure and such. Oops, that was way too wet. Oh no. Okay. Suck some of that out. There we go. So don't give up on it. You don't have to finish every painting. I'm not saying that either, but I was ready to call it quits on this. But I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I stuck with it. And I'm adding some, I'm working it some more. Use your creativity. What is it that's missing? Is it the color that's missing? Is it the textures? Is it the shapes? You have to think of all of that stuff and then put it to work for you. A lot of people have trouble knowing when a painting's done. And I know I rarely have that trouble. I no, yes, this is done, or no, it still needs something. Usually what paintings need is contrast. Any piece of work that you're doing, usually what it needs is contrast. Whether it's the contrast between the yellows and the blues here. Oh, let me back this up there. Whether it's that type of contrast or if it's adding black and white to it. I'm trying to get it over so you can see what I'm doing. Or if it's a textural contrast that you're adding, more of the scumbly type, like what I'm doing now versus the flat. So you have to usually figure that out. And I know when I was teaching a couple of years, I taught, that's what the kids would need. They'd made it to one note. They needed to add some contrast. So I'm liking the way that's turning out. And I like the field underneath it. I'm going to go in and then go back out so you can see it more. So I did add some green over here. I haven't finished adding it. I've just been dabbing my paintbrush in all the different greens and then going in and adding them in. Just the same as what I was doing over there. Trying not to disturb the other colors. And I don't want to do too much of that because I do want to go back in and put some yellow in there. But now it makes it look more like a field yet. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So that's what we've done today. I'll probably work on this some. I'm kind of enjoying it and I'm liking it better now that I kind of settled down some things. So it might be done by the time you see it next week. I have to make some cards and I am getting in, I do have some new supplies that I'm going to bring out and show you guys too. So that will be all stuff I'm doing. Thank you for watching me tonight, or if you're watching later, thank you. As always, if you had any questions about what supplies I'm using or any of that, please put it in the comments and I will try and get you answered. I look forward to seeing you next week on Monday. And you can watch my channel on Thursdays. I have a virtual bead boutique that I sell beads and jewelry supplies on. And then I also put up other videos during the week too. So watch for those. And if I don't see you till next week, have a great week and a weekend, and I will see you then. And if you make something, I forgot to tell people this earlier, I do have a group or a page that's called Designs and Do-Overs on Facebook. And if you make something that I inspired you to, or that you were doing while I was doing this, please feel free to go over to that page. I'm trying to remember to put a link in there and post your stuff, because we all want to see what everyone's doing. And don't worry about criticism or being embarrassed. We've all started, and we all were in each place at one time. And this is a new style for me, so it's not the best either. So I'm not there to criticize, and neither are the other people there. They're there to encourage and to help you. And if you have questions, it'll be a place we can do that. So as I said, good night, and I look forward to seeing you all next. Have a great week. Bye.